Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Wolfram language design review about finance functionality. One of a series, we are talking about backtesting. And let me try to remind myself what we had discussed last time here. Is what you've written here updated for what we discussed last time? And by the way, do I run the initialization or not?
Yes. No. Please click no on yes on the button. So,
well, that isn't very good. What's happening here?
Are you using 15? Version 15, 20 of April. Roger told me that you had the last version. The version is installed. Let me check on what Roger said. 1 second. He has installed on Delta.
Yeah. This is the machine.
Yeah, this is the machine. And so why Wolfram Financial Framework doesn't work for you? It worked for
Okay. Well, is there a Packlet upload? I mean, what is the Packlet? Can you send in the chat what the Packlet?
Yeah, I will send it. I will send it right away. And in the meanwhile, you can keep going.
Okay.
Let me send for you.
So part one, did you say you'd updated what's in the notebook here for part one?
No, the part one actually is what we discussed last time is
okay,
exactly
but I understand,
what it is.
But we made some design changes last time. Are they reflected there?
They're in the back.
Yeah, no, right now
two.
It's the part two. And the part two is what we're going to find it.
Okay. All right. So this is what we discussed last time, right?
Yes, exactly.
Now updated with the desired changes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's review where do we start here?
So where we start. So first of all, the financial backtest right now is going to return a financial portfolio. This is that was the biggest change from the last time. Right now, a financial backtest has the minimal syntax is that you are getting an asset that could be either a financial series, either a financial portfolio, and you have a trading rule.
Mm-hmm.
And the trading rule is split in two parts. Simply, you have an example over there. That signal is your signal, and your position rule is a function that operates on signals. That is the minimal approach. You could use a single signal using a financial indicators, or you can have multiple signal, and you will see that one of them is called signals.
Hold on a second. What is the moving day average? So in here, you're using keys that exist in other parts of this association. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. It's either part of the association of signal or information that is coming in the asset. So properties of the asset, like financial series or financial portfolio. You can see an example.
I think that's.
Yeah.
I think it's going to cause trouble. I think you can't do that where you're kind of recursively I think you should have two separate arguments then. One, I don't really understand. It seems to me that what this should look like is something like financial backtest of I'm thinking that this dates. Well, okay. We could try a couple of things. Dated, asset, dates.
That should work.
What's that?
No, it should work. You're right.
Yeah, but I mean, the question is whether that's the primary syntax. And then it's kind of like signals, and then it's like trading rule. And the signals then would not be in a sub thing. They'd just be whatever random keys you want to put in that are deducible. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. We have to be careful because you will encounter the same problem, because then the trading rule will contain only the position rules at this point.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't understand that really. I mean, in other words,
the idea of the design that Filippo has here is that the signal is, you know, something you can calculate from any of the keys you have available, but it's designed to be used with a position rule, right? The position rule operates on the result of whatever the signal or signals creates. So if you look at the trading rule example up above, where the financial indicator is just a simple moving average 20, right, which is something defined by financial indicators, then the position rule is just a pure function that operates on that, but it has access to adjusted close of the asset, because adjusted close is a property of the asset API.
how does it know whether the hash adjusted close applies to the original asset or to the signals?
It searches for the key that matches.
We have a function that actually if there is any ambiguity, it will spit it out that there is an ambiguity of which columns.
And do we have any precedent for that in the way tabular works? I don't think so.
So this position rule is working exactly as transform column of the tabular. So
I understand
I'm not
that, but
sure.
this recursive use of keys, I don't recognize from anything else.
So I'm not quite sure we're calling it recursive, because it can access either the financial series object or the calculated signal object, but it's not that it's recursing inside the second of those.
I understand. I mean, don't we have a mechanism in tabular to have those? Who here knows tabular well? We have that mechanism for an extended key in tabular, right?
Yes, that's whenever you have a nested set of keys.
Exactly. But we could imagine these things are being an extended key. So there's a signal, because let's say there's a collision in names between the signal and the underlying financial assets. See what I'm saying?
Or property of the asset, you mean?
Right. Then if we use the extended key mechanism, if we thought of this as a tabular with this extended key thing, then you can always reference it. You know, most of the time you can get away with referencing it.
With the extended key syntax.
Yeah. But if you had to disambiguate, what on earth are you sending me here? Sorry, please contact Roger and ask him what went on here.
Yeah, okay.
This is not a good solution.
Okay, I will.
I mean, where am I looking on this file system? Did you give me WFF?
WFF is a zip file that contains the packlet and the instruction to install it. So just you need to download, open, unzip it, and evaluate the notebook, and it should work right away. But let me ping it, Roger, just to be sure.
No, it's okay. I got it. Yeah. Now, what do you want me to do? You want me to just evaluate this notebook?
Yeah, evaluate about this notebook. And in theory, the financial series should become blue. Okay, this is blue. Yeah, okay, good sign. Yeah, okay. I see that that's working.
Okay. All right, so I can run some of these.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to put a monitor on this function if it takes time. Is noted.
I'm sorry, what?
I have to put the progress bar.
Yeah,
it takes time.
It takes time. Yeah. Okay, this is bad. What's happening here? There is a bug here. Can you run the other example? Why these things? Can you run the other trading rule? The second one, sorry, there is another down over there where it have multiple signals, and you evaluate financial backtest again.
This one here?
Yes, the same name. Yes, try evaluate. Okay, so we are using another trading rule, but at least this thing is working.
When it
So
says assets, Apple, cash, I mean, I wonder, cash with a capital C seems a little odd there. It's not. I mean, I don't know. It seems hard.
it's the name convention that you actually load the cash object at the top of the section. You will see that there is a variable named cash, and we called the financial series. We rename it cash with capital C over there, just like this is a renaming
BIL?
convention.
It's a treasury bill exchange traded fund.
Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? I mean, there's no company called Cash or anything like that.
No, this is just it's a exchange traded fund that just invests in treasury bills, which is a decent proxy for risk-free return for things like Sharpe ratio calculations and so forth. So the alternate asset when you're not in Apple here is you're in the cash.
Okay. All right. So all right. So what are we looking at here? So
we run a back test on a particular time window, right? We get a bunch of metrics out of it. You're looking down at other examples of different trading
really
rules.
Complicated. Okay.
So in this case, the one that,
go ahead.
In this case, you loaded the second one, which was 2 indicators, which is used a 50-day average and a moving average and a 200-day moving average. And basically, the trading rule is, if the 50 is above the 200, you think you're in an uptrend and you own the asset, and if the 200 is above the 50, you think you're in a downtrend and you own cash.
What does this mean? Financial indicator. What does that mean?
Financial indicator symbol, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
This was a whole set of different technical indicators that were created for the trading chart initially, and we made them all computable in this. So any of the things that are typically used by technical traders as a oscillator or stochastic indicator in the trading chart is available as a possible strategy here.
But is that a strategy, or is it why can't I do that?
It's an indicator. It's an indicator.
But an indicator is a thing you can evaluate, for example, for Apple's financial time series, right?
You should be able to.
So the other way on Apple.
But it didn't work at the moment with the financial series.
It's not gonna work in that build for sure.
Okay, but is this supposed to work?
It's in the newer builds.
Is that something we've discussed in a previous design meeting?
Yes, we did, but yes. that's a working solution for the time being, and we're still gonna look into this in the more detail for 15.1.
Right.
So this is an extension to the symbol financial indicator, which previously was only designed to work with trading chart, and now we're making more general use of it.
And how did it work with trading chart?
If you pick trading chart, you could pick any financial indicator to get us the spark line down below to see how it was evaluated on the time series above. So the internals of it weren't exposed, but
no, but there's an indicator. There's an argument there. Second argument indicator.
Exactly. And you could, if you put in that instead of just getting a volume below the chart, you would get a whatever the spark line was of your calculated indicator below the chart.
Okay, just as a visual thing, but where's the list of indicators?
I think it's
there's a page of financial indicator.
On the top of this page, there is a listing.
Yeah, exactly. So you get the simple moving average ones, which are parameterized, and all these momentum indicators and trend indicators and so on.
But now, I understand, these things are just strings here, right? The wrapping with financial indicator object.
It's a name, it's a string, because some of them need parameters.
Oh, for God's sake, this is a total mess. Right.
And this is an older function, obviously, and we're we're making it more general, making it more computable in the financial framework package, whereas previously it was just a way of getting these indicator spark lines. We want to expose
with respect to these parameters. I see. Simple moving average is SMA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And simple is supposed to, yes, 50 days past. simple as opposed to exponential, where you weight the more recent time heavier and the more distant times less.
Don't we have other ways? Okay, so this. Okay, I mean, it shouldn't be SMA here. It should be simple moving average. That's what autocomplete is for.
Okay.
Sure.
Don't do that. I mean, it's just not. It's Okay, so we've got a whole giant list of indicators here.
Yes.
100.
Okay. Why is the it repeats some of the it's mentioning simple moving average a second time there. Okay, all right, fine. So the idea then is that those things can be applied to a time series. It's very weird. I mean, honestly, these are.
Yeah,
I mean,
in
I could imagine
in the technical trading community, these are commonly used things to.
I know.
You get the point. Yeah. So we want to support all of them, but we also want to be able to let people make their own ones with any pure function off of any of these. So the example that you just evaluated, you're picking two of them, the 50 and the 200-day simple moving average, and asking which one's above the other. But you could also ask, what's the position of the adjusted close right now compared to both those moving averages, and a which statement to get more complicated and could give you different positions depending on whether or not the price is above this moving average and below that one, and so on.
Why is this set up the way it's set up? Why is it? I don't understand. Why isn't this just in this line here? Why isn't this just that's a funky color.
An if statement.
This one is trying to show it as a which, so that you could show the generality if you made use of all of your signals in different ways.
Okay, but why is that? Why has it got a quantity
simpler.
magnitude thing? Why isn't it just blah greater than blah?
Because the financial indicators return a quantity, and the quantity.
Well, you can do quantity comparisons like that. What the hell's wrong with that?
I tried, maybe. Yeah, let me look into it. I mean, it didn't work for a particular reason. I will double check.
It better work. Seems to work.
It does.
Sure.
It does. You're right. You're right. Okay, my bad.
Okay. All right, fine. Okay, but so now it's kind of weird the way that you're doing financial indicator of. Okay, so so in here, instead of defining signals and then doing this, you could have said financial indicator simple moving average of hash, comma 50 or something, of hash greater than whatever. You don't need that intermediate signals thing, right? That's just for convenience of appearance, correct?
No, because the signal could be financial indicators or could be an external time series. Financial indicator is an extension.
Right.
Why aren't you putting the external time series into the position rule? Why can't you put everything in there? It's just one criterion.
One criteria. Yeah, it's.
You're saying you want a pure function position rule that has everything already.
I'm just saying it could have everything in it. It might be convenient and elegant to break it up into signals and position rule and so on.
Yes.
But I'm just trying to understand the
position from the opinion from James was that right now position rule has the same syntax of transform column. Oh, he's not here. Not sure. He's invited. He was in the calendar. But the opinion of James was the position.
Somebody bring him, please.
Yeah.
Find
okay.
out why he isn't here. Thank you.
The idea is that to have position rule have the same syntax as the transform column syntax of tabular, and then because signals is designed to instead compute whole time series, separate that piece out.
I don't understand. I don't understand. What in principle, is it an efficiency hack that you want to pre-compute the time series and then you do this other thing, or what?
You want to allow it to be possible to pre-compute the time series, the signals, because you might be getting them from some external source. We have examples down below of doing that. Like you might get your position rule from some, economic series from, Fred 2 or something, and then calculate it all. And then you want to be able to, after have that series, have that included in the position rule.
But I don't understand. Why don't you just get the series when you compute the position rule, other than as an efficiency issue?
Because you want the position rule itself to always have the same pure function form as a transform columns argument for tabular. So you don't want to have anything of the complexity of a pre-computed series or the different ways you're getting the series inside the position rule syntax. Position rule syntax should just be simple.
Why?
That was the idea from James.
I'm just trying to make sure we understand what, in principle, is the unrolled version of this. In other words, okay, I'm trying to understand the documentation for financial backtest.
Yes.
Okay, just saying performs a backtest doesn't really cut it for me. I mean, it's like, what does it actually do? So it's got various assets here, right?
Yeah.
It's got a time range.
Yeah.
Yes. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you the financial portfolio performance of something which is in the different assets at the different times specified by the trading rule. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have a financial portfolio where the weights are changing with time, and according to the position rule, you're in one asset or in the other asset. In the more general case, you're changing your weights in each of the assets that you have.
By the way, that's very ugly. That summary word. I mean,
yeah, there are some
this needs graphic design, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, yeah. But so here you're saying that the amount in each of these is going to change over time. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
And how does that take account of transaction costs and things?
It's an argument you can give as to kind of include transaction costs if as another argument. But the example down below is showing you that oscillator there is showing you're in Apple when you're at the top line and cash when you're at the bottom line, and it's showing you the switching back and forth that the trading rule did. Right, that's the green and red regions, and then the performance of that is what's being shown there as in the portfolio line as opposed to just owning Apple the whole time. Right, so the portfolio has switched back and forth between them based upon what the signal is saying.
I can't tell what these colors are. How did it pick those colors? I mean,
this is the standard default colors.
But they're not, because I know the standard default colors, and they're not these. I mean, in other words, well, maybe they are. Yeah, maybe they are actually. Okay.
It's just once you get to 4 and 5, you sometimes don't realize yeah. So you have the two moving averages up. The lines, the Apple is the sparky line up above, and the moving averages are the purple and
red. Yeah. Okay. And it's a log scale there.
Yes.
Okay. Is that typical for people?
It is, because it lets returns be lines.
I see.
It returns be lines.
I see. Okay.
So in this case, for this strategy, the portfolio underperformed Apple, and it underperformed it also in a risk-adjusted sense. That's what we're seeing in the Sharpe ratio things at the bottom of that thing where it says the Sharpe ratio of being an Apple is 0.6 and of being in the portfolio is 0.3. So you lowered your return without lowering your risk by the same amount. You did lower your risk. The annualized risk is lower by about a third, but you reduce your return by more than that. So this would not pass this backtest as something you should do, right? Whereas if you use the other strategy, it did pass the backtest, but you're always looking at some criteria to evaluate, did my risk-adjusted return improve or not by using this strategy compared to just being in the instrument itself?
Okay, when you ask for indicators here, I don't understand. We got signals, we got indicators. What's the difference between signal and indicator?
Indicator, it's like a filter on your data, right? So you can generally think, okay, what's the moving average for the 50 days, for 200 days? That's just kind of general numbers. And then the signal can be, your choice of indicator, or could be something external that you want to then say compare. So if my data, value,
I got this point.
it is below or above. So in a way that using the language from transform columns tries to keep the rule kind of simpler in the way of using the names that we the keys that we give for each signal.
Well, why can I give a trading rule that includes indicators, or only a trading rule that includes signals?
So
go
ahead.
It includes signal, but the name can be changed. We can call them
signal and signals. What's the difference?
The signal is a simple one. It avoids you have a single signal, and so you use signal and you put a financial indicator or a time series. If you want to put multiple time series or indicators, you're using signals.
I'm sorry, this is a total mess. James really passed on this. This is not reasonable. Look, come on.
You're saying you don't need a separate syntax for the
no,
if you want one or more.
What you've got is a set of things. If you want to separate out the position rule, okay, what other things are there that you might separate out? Is it always signals and a position rule, or are there other things that can appear there? Look, we got three pieces that I know of that appear there. Okay, we've got the original asset. Okay, the original assets, which might be named.
Sure.
Right? Okay, we've got the signals.
Yep, we have the trading rule, or position rule rather. And you can have other arguments for things like transaction costs or short costs or other parameters.
Okay. So by the way, it's not a rule, it's a function.
Fair.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So the original assets can be named, but are typically not named. Is that correct? The original assets usually have just their raw names. But could you have an association as the first argument, naming some of those assets?
Yes, and there's some examples of that down below when you have a portfolio of multiple assets and switching between them.
Okay. All right.
As opposed to just between Apple and cash. But yes, they can be named.
But, okay. So
I think what might be confusing is that in the signals, we just have financial indicator, or we don't say on which signal, which data it's operating. And I think that if you have the portfolio with multiple assets, that might be, need to clarify on which we compute.
Is it?
And
I thought it's operating on all of them.
Right, but it's maybe what's confusing in a way that we say, okay, just financial indicator, but what we mean underneath it's that it's actually computing this on the data.
On all the assets, right? It's computing on every asset.
It's
right?
computing if it's computing it on each of the assets if it's specified that way. It can also just be you actually pass it in, right? You actually have the pre-computed series, right? Doesn't have to be computed there. It's going to be computed there if you say financial indicator of something, but it's not going to be if you just pass in a whole time series of this is my indicator series. There's examples of that down below where Filippo calculates his indicator series for the relative strength.
Let's untangle this. I'm pretty disappointed with what James has come up with for you here. This is not right.
And you're especially thinking about the issue of signal versus signals and that being not helpful.
Yeah, it's a total mess.
I understand.
Okay, this is a total mess. So let's try and untangle it, right? So
I'm going to explain to the breadth that we're trying to get because we're looking at one case, right? The breadth we're trying to get is you're specifying your indicator as on a single instrument with an alternative of cash or not even a default, right? Or you're specifying all the different instruments you could be in. You're specifying the signal as a single kind of signal for the single instrument case, or it can be a more complicated thing of multiple, the relationship between multiple indicators. And the more general case is it's something you've pre-computed yourself as the signal that you're passing in.
All right, fine. Can you show me, do you have an example of a really complicated case somewhere here?
This is the one of the complicated case for the financial for portfolio. So you will see that you have a single signal here, and you have a position rule that applying a single signal. If you scroll down, there is the same version with two signals that are.
Sorry, what is all this stuff here? Large value, large growth. What does that mean?
This is the financial portfolio weights, target weights that you're trying to achieve. So the position rule or the position function actually try to express what is the position that you're assuming on your financial portfolio or your asset.
All right. Okay. So let's just understand then. So
In
the
this case, you've got
position
name.
function. Yeah.
Sorry, if you scroll up slightly, a
Scroll
little higher,
up.
up a little higher. I just want to show you when the naming is happening. It's still slightly higher. There are names being given to ETFs. So your large value and large growth up there, where you see growth in values, right? You're setting a financial portfolio that's starting off as 50-50 split between these two things, right?
Okay.
But they're just named things, right? And we're going to be changing the weights that you have in each of these.
Oh, sorry, I'm making a noise. Okay, these are asset names.
Yes.
They were used previously just for display. How can they be used here for computation? That doesn't make any sense.
You have to refer to the position of your assets.
I know, but we agreed that asset names was just for display before, did we not?
In financial portfolio you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. So don't use them. Look, you'd use these names here to refer to the actual underlying stuff, not the asset names here, which are like decorative, right? Am I wrong? I mean, did we not agree that those would be just decorative names previously?
When we were just talking about financial portfolio, you did say that you wanted those to be for display purposes and like.
Okay, so don't use them for computation. I mean, it's like.
So in the position rule, then you'd have the actual symbols.
Right. Yes, but right. But so let's just understand what I mean. Okay. So,
but
in the position function. Okay.
Yes.
Let's just write down position function. Okay.
Yeah, the most general case of the position function needs to specify weights for all of your instruments.
I understand.
Yeah.
So it takes in asset financial series.
Yeah.
And signal either financial series or
separately calculated ones, yes.
Or calculated on the fly, or signals calculated on the fly. Is that correct?
The third case is that yes, you're right. Signal financial series is general there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me understand. Why do you ever want to calculate it on the fly? In other words, you've got, as I understand it, okay, and then what it returns
it's mostly
is allocation information, okay?
Correct.
Allocation
Correct.
in the form either of, if you're just given a list, if the assets were just a list, Apple, Microsoft or something like that, then the allocation would just be, 0.5, 0.6, 0.4 or something.
Correct, a weight vector. Correct.
Right, but if what you had here was fruit and, non-fruit, and those were your names that you've given, right? Am I wrong? Like this.
Right. You could have a weight vector or an association with names go to weights. Yep.
Okay. All right. So then there you would have fruit arrow 0.6, non-fruit arrow 0.4. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what position function returns.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what this thing takes in is go ahead.
So after you've evaluated the position function, you have a changing set of those weights at every time step, and then you want to compose the actual financial portfolio that has all those changing weights, and you have the calculator return all the properties of that time composed portfolio.
Right, but the thing you could return in principle from this is what you return from financial backtest.
Right? Yes.
And then
that is all the changing weights in it. Yeah.
Right. So then financial portfolio, you can get from that a time series of weights, you can get a time series of values, you can do all kinds of things as reflected in the backtest chart.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, I don't understand. Okay. So in this position function, there could be, okay, first question is, let me think. What is it? Okay, it returns an allocation at a moment in time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's basically making a wait time series.
So what it has to take in is either a collection of time series. Okay, what it takes in is either time series that it can evaluate its criterion at that moment in time, or it takes in a way to process time series. Not quite sure why it has to do both things. So in other words, the fundamental point is you're really trying to get what you'd really like to feed into the position function to make the position function nice and clean is a bunch as an association of named time series, right?
Yes,
Which
I mean,
has,
sometimes we're just trying to make it possible to have those be selected columns from something already created or properties of things you already
I know
have.
you're trying to, but
yes,
fundamentally you're trying to get financial series that what you have is, roughly this is your signals. And your signals could be underlying asset values. They could be all
correct.
kinds of derived things.
Correct.
Right? And then your position function is indexing into these six. Okay, so what does it do? What does it really do? So what it really does is it says hash XX of a time, right? And it's doing that for all times, and it's computing, right? So it's computing some function, this, and it's returning it is going to return, it's going to synthesize from that. For each of those, it's going to compute W of t, the weight at that time, right?
Correct, as a vector.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yes. So then what it's doing is it's kind of doing like a time series map.
Exactly.
Okay.
But with a vector output.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Time series map can do that. I mean, so I'm just trying to understand here. So it's a time series map of the position function PF
Of the whole set of all the indicators it could operate on.
No, but that position function, let's say, has keys to the indicators. But
yes.
what still needs to be fed into the position function is the output of the position function, PFO, the output of the position function. Well, it's actually the position function, right? Is then going to be fed a time over the date range. So that's over.
I think that way you can think that we have a single time series with components that are named. And then your position function is actually taking the component keys and use them as arguments.
I think that's right. But okay.
And you don't need
did
the
anybody
date
find
range?
James, by the way? Did anybody find him?
I pinged him, but he didn't reply. It's offline.
Okay.
Not sure.
And so the date range,
really
is implied by the length of your time series of your financial
Although
series data.
there are down values that will let you, operate on that. But yes.
Right. But if you give it, to the backtesting, you give the dates, the backtesting, then it will just window the financial time series. Yes.
But so in the end, you have created a function. PF is equal to this. Okay? Is a pure function here, right?
It gives a weight vector at each time. Correct.
That gives a weight vector at each time. And then what you're doing is a time series map over the date range to return a financial series of weights.
A financial portfolio, which is what that is. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's go on untangling.
Yeah, and once we have that financial portfolio, there's other things that the financial backtest object has that it computes off of it. like these extra things to return, but
I thought financial backtest is returning a financial portfolio.
Yes. So where are you putting these extra properties in the financial portfolio object, Filippo?
Yeah, no, it's inside the financial portfolio. If you
Got it. Okay. So the point is you have those as possible properties of financial portfolio to begin with, and you're just filling them in.
Okay. All right, fine. So the thing we need to do is, oh boy, this is a mess. Okay.
there is another way to interpret this, is that if you're doing tabular of the financial portfolio, you're getting the entire tabular where the first column is all the timestamps and the rest is all the columns that you're adding.
I know.
And so for every signal, you were simply adding more columns and more columns. And the function that we are applying, the position function, is the function that applies directly to the tabular.
Okay, so here's the confusion, right? In these signals, you are either giving a financial series, which is the thing through time, or you're giving here, very confusingly, right, a financial indicator.
Yes.
Which is not the thing through time. This is really bad. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm complaining. I'm really complaining because this should have been caught by James and so on. This isn't right, right? See what I'm saying? This is a thing that you spray it, and this financial series has to be deconstructed to be put into the rows of the tabular. This financial indicator is instead
operates on each row and makes that entry.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So like those should not be together, right? In this form. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's try to understand how to do this.
Okay. So if we want to have a pre-computed series case, the sprayed version you were talking about, right? What's the right syntax to put that in?
Yeah, right. Okay. So let's untangle this a bit more. Okay. This first thing is really no different than your original assets in structure, right? Your original, you've really got two kinds of things. You've got, fully formed, series for assets and signals. And then you've got functions to be applied to things row by row to get values.
Okay? Yes, that's correct.
Okay, all right. So I would argue, okay, I don't understand why you're not just doing the following thing, okay? You've got your assets. Okay, you're going to have, yes, I don't understand why you're not doing this, okay? I mean, this seems the most straightforward thing to do. Okay, first you've got
your assets.
What is the when you name the assets, is it name arrow asset, or is it asset arrow name here?
Name arrow assets.
These are name arrow assets.
Okay, so this could be fruit arrow whatever it is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Fruit arrow apple.
Yeah.
But notably, it isn't. Okay, this is where it's again a big mess pile. See, it's not just fruit arrow financial series of apple comma date range. See what I'm saying?
Correct. We want it to be able to actually retrieve.
Okay, let's go through this again. So again, in that first argument, okay, so for many things you're doing, that first argument would not just be AAPL. Okay, in financial backtest, you're factoring out the date from everything else. You haven't done that previously, right?
We're always having an optional second or third argument of the date ranges that they're being applied to everything because they're going to be applied uniformly across the tabular.
Okay.
So there's down values that take second arguments for date specs.
Okay, but you've got a descriptor of the thing. How do I get, I say financial series how do I get this? Let's say, okay, fine. So that's how I get that.
Yes.
Okay. And so now, okay.
Now, obviously, it filled in defaults there for things like your granularity and so forth.
Right. Okay. But so now here, okay, so the typical form here these are the assets which are specified in this form where they're going to be sampled. But you see what's funky here is that some random Fred series that's coming in as a pure time series, right?
Yes. It won't have all the same properties as a financial asset, but you can use it as an indicator. Like you're not going to have an adjusted close or a cumulative fractional change as a property that you get from a service connect to Fred, but you will still get a time series of values that you could use as an indicator in a position rule or in a position function.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. Okay, hold on. Just a second.
The thing which is funny here, I mean, I realize you're thinking about it, is that we're trying to make it easy to construct a complicated tabular, but once we have the thing that all the different columns of the tabular, we want to do relatively simple mappings on it.
I get it. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, so the issue is we need keys. I think the fundamental thing should be done here is this. I think you should go financial backtest. And then the first argument should be a great big list of named things that have the property that they are essentially, they are sort of morally functions that get applied to the time to return a value that goes in a row. Okay, so that could be an external time series. You know, it could be, you know, time series Fred.
Yep.
Whatever it could be, it is things, and you know, the one kind of elision would be that if it's a string on the right-hand side, that's interpreted as a financial instrument key, right? But otherwise, what's on the right-hand side is a function that has the property that if you apply it to a time, it will give you a value. Am I making sense?
It has to be a single value. You know, we have to specify every key because many of these things come in, you know, property groups, right? And with Microsoft, you can get its whole property group, not just its adjusted close. Because we're actually filling out whole sections of the tabular with all the different properties of Microsoft at all those times.
So at time, it gives you association, right, with values. So adjusted close goes to the value. So then you can use the keys to access the right value that you want for
it's
the
an
given
extended
time.
key then. So this is Microsoft.
Right. So then
so really it's B and then the close of B, whatever B.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you've got this, you've got date range. Okay. And then I believe all you have here is position rule.
Position function.
Yeah. And then you have a bunch of other options.
Sure, for things like, for things like transaction costs, etc.
Right. So then what this is doing, okay, so then the problem is you'd really like to be able to say,
in that first thing where we have F1 or F3, we'd like to be able to say one of those things is just this named financial indicator on one of these other series that's here.
well, then say it. I mean, look, in other words, if D is
Financial indicators of the financial series of Apple.
Financial indicator of Apple.
No, but you can't. Well, okay, you could do that as an elision here. I mean, financial indicator of whatever it is, your moving average.
Yes,
Simple.
moving average, something 20. Yep.
I mean, that would be an elision where this thing on its own would return a financial series. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
It returns something which, when applied to a concrete date, returns a value. Or you're saying an association of values.
Yes.
Yes, and that would use the date range from the
second argument. Yes.
From the second argument.
And that's it. That's the only thing that would do that. So, words.
But all those things are then filling out the different columns of the tabular that position function can operate on.
Exactly. I mean, here,
anything that's a row operation is in position function. Anything which is in the that needs to be mapped to create things is put in the first argument as the creation of the data. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm suggesting, yes.
Yeah, it's like augmenting the columns. So that's in the first argument. Whatever columns you need to create, that goes into the first argument.
Right. Now, the only thing I don't quite understand, let's say you've got a B2 is, you know, GE or whatever, I don't know what ticker is. But, then in position function, how do you refer to what I don't understand how this position function works. I don't understand this at all. I don't understand this at all. What the hell is this doing? What
the position function is it's working on the tabular object of your financial portfolio, and the financial portfolio automatically is creating an extended key with the financial series of Microsoft.
You know what? Yeah. You should make something which takes this kind of association and makes the extended tabular.
Forget no.
Instead of putting it inside financial backtest. So you're saying something which takes all those things and just makes the tabular, and then financial backtest just takes a tabular date range
as a convenience, you could just put the whole thing into financial backtest. But I'm saying you should have a factored function which simply takes this whole ball of wax and makes the
tabular
very useful.
I agree. That's sensible.
Is it a financial portfolio tabular, or what is it? Is it just a pure tabular?
No, it's a financial portfolio that becomes a tabular. If you're evaluating a financial portfolio, I think down there is a financial portfolio, and asking for the tabular, you will see the entire object.
Okay, fine. But most of the time, it's just a financial portfolio.
Yeah.
So you could generalize financial portfolio.
I understand, but I mean a little bit too. I mean, financial portfolio has nice uses in the fact that it requires weight vectors, et cetera. And for some of these things, it's not going to make sense. Some of these things are not instruments you're putting weights in. So I think what we're talking about here is more general than a financial portfolio.
Okay.
So because it's going to have purely indicative columns, so to speak.
What is financial series able to take? Is that a single asset, or can it be an association of assets?
No, that's financial portfolio. And the financial portfolio, if you're looking for documentation, takes an association of assets, a list of assets. And
the financial series is only a single one. It can have multiple properties, but it's a single instrument.
Yeah.
Okay, but then this thing here that's got this whole association ultimately could be represented as an association of financial series.
Yes.
Every one of these things could be resolved into a financial series.
Correct.
I mean, there's a trickiness with extended key idea, okay, which I don't fully understand yet.
I mean that
But
for each asset you have your subkeys. So you can think that the financial series and your main components are, asset one, asset two, and then the extended key, I have a subkeys that would say we have adjusted close for that. But for the financial indicator, column, we don't have any need for that, right? For the subkeys, because you just have the
Correct.
values.
You do need to have the name of that column, and the name of that column has to include something about what it operated on to create this moving average of this asset rather than that asset, or that this is just the Fred series of something or other. It doesn't relate to any of the assets.
Right, but it's just a single column.
Correct.
And the keys might be
it's
something
a column
descriptive.
label.
Yeah,
it's a column label. That's so what we need is just a clean way of having those column labels accessible to the position function, and a clean way of making them all, right? Which is not always going to be the same as what's done in financial portfolio, because these are not always going to be, things you can have a position in.
But the point is that if you can convert financial series or portfolio to a tabular, right? Then you have to have keys.
Yes.
And then you have the keys for all the columns. And
Yes.
some of the keys will be extended keys, some will be just simple keys. And
Correct.
hence you can clearly use the function on the keys.
Correct. I'm just trying to point out that the thing which is being used here in financial backtest is slightly more general than the idea of a financial portfolio. That's all. It's still a tabular. It still fits as a tabular, completely conforms with all the tabular, column conventions, etc.
Right. So we kind of put parts together for a big tabular on which then the position function operates.
I understand. The question is, do we need a symbol name for something which is bigger than a financial portfolio? But
that's what I was. Right.
And also, but also it's temporary.
Guys. No, I mean, look, you could have a financial signal series or something, which is, I don't really like that.
For the individual piece in them.
Well, either that or the whole thing could be, in the end, what you'd like to do, you're mapping over this, applying each of these to a specific time to get the rows in the tabular that is going to represent the financial portfolio. See, look. Here's the problem. Problem is there needs to be something which is the unpositioned, so to speak, thing that you got from all these and all these signals. Does that make sense?
Yes. When you say unpositioned,
I mean it hasn't had the financial backtest function should just be taking.
Got it. It doesn't have weights on it yet. It doesn't have weights on it yet.
I got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why it's not a financial portfolio. It doesn't have weights on it yet. It's the object that is going to be passed in that is going to generate the weight vector. So
okay. So fundamentally, financial backtest does one thing. Always a good thing for functions. It takes this thing here, which is basically financial series. That's basically one financial series, another financial series. Just like financial portfolio takes a collection of financial series and puts weights on them, this is just doing the exact same thing. It is a particular way of taking a list of financial series and, on the state range, it is, I'm not even sure the argument order is right, by the way. It's applying the position function. In fact, I would even argue that the position function might come first, because what it's doing is it's taking that position function, applying that, and returning a financial portfolio. Okay, so remind me, when we get a financial portfolio from financial series, what is the most basic way to get a financial portfolio from financial series?
You could have financial portfolio and look for the definition of financial portfolio. There is a documentation, but you can have a list of two financial series and it will automatically create an equally weighted financial portfolio.
I mean, theoretically, you could have a single one and just have weights one.
Yeah.
Right. It's an edge case, but fine.
Click on the eye on the top of the left. So because it's
okay, I understand.
And if you don't even give it a date spec, it just defaults to last year.
Okay, all right. So here, the fundamental thing financial backtest is doing, it is applying the position function to this collection of signals, all represented as, every signal is just represented as the name of the signal and, a time series, a
Right.
thing that when applied to a date value returns a number or an association. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then,
And it maps to a financial portfolio, which has a time varying weight vector. Yep.
yes, exactly. Okay. So then what we need is a thing without the position function. Okay. We need a thing which is basically this with identity as the position function.
And it just makes the tabular, you're saying?
It isn't. Is it identity? No, it isn't quite identity. Because it's not making a financial portfolio. It's making a different
Correct.
kind of thing.
Correct.
Right? It's making.
It's making the what do you want to call it? It's the instruments and indicators object.
Right.
Right.
I'm kind of very tempted to call it financial tabular. Yes.
Yes.
That was exactly what I was.
Yes.
Just
Financial
returns
tabular.
a tabular.
Which is just a tabular. Yes. Not
Right.
a portfolio.
And you could feed that tabular in as the second argument of financial backtest, and it would just,
just work.
this.
Yep.
I like this. I like this.
Mm-hmm.
This is much cleaner. I like this.
Okay.
And then it gets us to the transform columns language clearly.
Yes, because your position function is like a transform column. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so financial tabular is the object without resolving it into any actual position function used for weights. If you give it position functions and the tabular, it spits out the weights. Sorry, it calculates the weights and spits out the financial portfolio that includes the weights through time.
Yes. So that means it's a nice factored function, and then this thing contains only names that came from here. Now, I don't completely understand what it looks like in the extended key case, right? So in other words,
I understand.
In that position function, you might want to refer, presumably you refer to Microsoft, for example, but then you might want to refer to the Microsoft close. So what does that look like?
You just, so that's hash extended key, and then you write your extended key. You can use extended keys in the transform columns specification. So that's going to be
then it's just Microsoft close.
Yeah, comma close or adjusted close.
Adjusted close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really very reasonable. I mean, I don't know what else you'd do. And if it happens that the thing has a single name, if you really wanted to use only the closes, you could define a named series here as, MS close, for example, and you could just write that as financial series. You could just compute that as the time series out of that. Just becomes a time series.
Yeah. Okay, so this is great. I agree this is definitely an improvement. I want to just talk quickly about the other thing we need besides financial backtest, which is financial backtest sample. And this is the idea that after you do the backtest, this was done in a particular date range, but to make operational use of this, you often want to rotate through many past date ranges to see how the performance metrics come out. So this is just, it's a sample version of this where you're basically varying the past time domain.
I see. But why is that not? Oh, I see. So you have to redo. So in a sense, there's a.
You redo the calculation for the weights because it's going to be different with different periods in it, right? You different moving average, et cetera, different time windows through the different past time periods, and you get different weight vectors out, and you get different performance metrics over the whole periods out, and you get different Sharpe ratios out, and you want to be able to see, do I have robust outperformance, or it was only for this?
Show me what that function. Because you're basically trying to monkey with the date range here.
Correct.
To have a super financial backtest that can have many date ranges in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you scroll down to financial backtest sample, you'll see an example of this. I think you have to go past these.
Financial backtest sample. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just go down a little bit to see what the properties are.
I don't understand any of this strategy and so on. That's a thing
That was
you
a
can
name.
use.
That was a name strategy as another way of doing these things. Don't worry about that part for now. It's
Okay,
just
but that's an alternative to position function.
correct.
Yes, exactly. It
So
is a
it's
way.
just a
just putting a
string for the
name.
position function.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay, but if we scroll a little bit,
you might need, if those things have to have parameters, you may need to have a head that's called financial strategy.
So we were putting these things in a list for specific.
But that's not going to work. It's not going to
You're
work
right.
because that first argument is just a function that gets applied. I mean, its operation is now very simple. Financial backtest is just a thing where it applies that function to the association that's the second argument and does something with it, right?
I understand. All the things where we wanted just a named version of this, we'll turn that into something which can.
Okay, so look, I've got another comment here, which is that if that's the case, that I'm sorry, I'm putting this in random places in this notebook, so sorry about that. I mean, fundamentally, I'm just wondering. Okay, this is an alternative to financial backtest. Okay.
Financial tabular.
Are you saying that if you pass in a tabular to a financial strategy and it computes the
portfolio
test?
But you see, because what you're trying to do down below is you're trying to do a super version of financial backtest in which you have a whole bunch of different cases that you've computed where you can then sample them for different ranges, right?
Exactly.
Right. So okay, so wait a minute. So financial backtest normally fundamentally takes a strategy represented as a position function, a collection of signals, and a date range. Okay. And and it returns a financial portfolio.
Yes.
Okay. So the signature of what you want for this sampling thing is something where you have a super date range.
Yes.
And maybe various options for how the sampling is done.
And we're basically just mapping the financial backtest thing over that super date range, which is resolved down to individual date range. Exactly.
Right, but why isn't it that you're returning, but you say with a different date range, you want a different financial portfolio as output because the strategy, so for each.
Yeah, for each,
in general.
For each piece of date range that we get there, we're going to have a different financial portfolio results. Yep.
Well, I don't understand why then this thing isn't just a list, at least conceptually, a list of date ranges.
It is.
Okay, but so then that's returning a list of financial portfolios.
It should, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but now you want something more convenient because you don't want to have to specify. Let's say you want to sample this where you're backtesting every month, for each of these being a month.
Right. As an example, down below, you have the date range given as, month, period, quantity, 1 year, etc.
Yeah.
So you're taking all the data, you're having start dates that go
so
through
what the hell? I mean,
table through all the months and 1 year periods.
Okay, so the issue is that those are the starts, right? You have a bunch of starts, and then you want to know, okay, so look, this is simple, guys. This is simple. This can all be part of financial backtest because fundamentally what you want to do is you want to have a bunch of financial portfolios anchored to those start dates, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That are each a year long in this case.
Right. So what you want basically is you're either saying, okay, actually, this isn't the right thing that I wrote here. This is, okay, so this is one thing you could do with a sequence of date ranges. So those date ranges would be the successive years, right?
Yes.
See what I'm saying? Okay, so the alternative syntax would be a date start 1, date start 2, right? and then maybe a thing that says duration.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they would all just return a bunch of financial portfolios here. Now, it's possible that in this syntax, you would return not this, but possibly a time series of financial portfolios indexed by
their starting
start
dates.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you can do it this way. I do not think you need another function.
Okay.
It's just monkeying with the date ranges.
Yes, it is. The only other thing is we have as long as we have those the multiple portfolio things coming out, we just need to be able to have the analytics things which are expecting the whole set of them.
Okay, what analytics things?
Well, if you scroll down, for example, the visualizations, this is just showing how like my Sharpe ratio property varies with my holding period. Or
how do you get this visualization? Isn't this a financial backtest chart?
No, this is no. This is a specific visualization for the output of what we're calling financial backtest sample.
But that's why I'm suggesting that what you should do is to have all of those things be in that financial backtest chart, right? Which normally takes, financial backtest chart would normally take a single financial portfolio. That's the most common case, right? But this case here, where it takes, a list of financial portfolios or a time series of financial portfolios, can, do things to its heart's content. It can have a default for what it does for the time series of financial portfolios.
And we just have an additional overloaded version of financial backtest chart, which gives the extra analytics for the sample case.
Yeah, I mean, but yes, but I mean, the default for what it does, if you give it a time series, can be different from the default for what it does if you give it a single financial portfolio.
Right.
This is a decent design. Finally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's progress.
Happy with this design. Right. It's pretty nice. I mean, the thing that freaks me out is like I have never understood. I didn't think financial backtest was such a complicated operation, and yet when you have all these bells and whistles, it's like, oh my gosh, whatever. Okay, but this is now nice and simple. I am still concerned. That this thing here might need to have a head.
The strategy.
Okay? Yes. That it could be a pure function that just acts on the signals, or it could be could end up being a named strategy that's called financial strategy with a string, and then eliding to the pure string in the case where it doesn't have any parameters. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure of that. It depends on how complicated your predefined strategies are.
You can have the list. You can see one example of trading rules, common single assets.
This most complicated one is probably the volatility rule. Do you have as a name strategy?
Close this section because it's down there. No, it was just up to the portfolio. That's your function. Custom single asset strategy. Yeah, take, for example, volatility strategy.
Third one down, volatility ratio.
Yeah, and so you can imagine that the third argument is a simply financial strategy that contains either the name with the custom name or contains various parameters.
And this one, it's taking things like not only a trailing period, but also a background factor. So this is basically saying this rule is if the trailing 50-day volatility is over twice its average, you're out. And if it's under twice its average, you're in, right? So it's are you on a volatility spike is the strategy in this case. So
the issue is this: if the function is going to be the most common thing. So one possibility is that you can always have an association as the first argument of financial backtest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It could be strategy and its parameters and whatever else it is.
Right.
Alternatively,
you have a way of making this into a pure function.
Alternatively, you have as the primary thing a pure function, and then these things are kind of, you could have the pure string as a courtesy. You see, you can't have both the pure string and a string with tentacles and a pure function without having an additional head or something.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
So you're saying
And
there might be a strategy head that handles
well, the
effectively
alternative would
turning
be
these
to
into a
have
pure function.
to say that if you want to use a pure function, it's a position function inside this thing that would otherwise be. So in other words, you'd have the choice. You could either just give that simple head, okay?
Right.
You could even give that head with a few parameters there, because
Yes.
that's okay. But but
50,
then
2 or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, right. But then or the only way to give a pure function is to actually have it be decorated by by being a value in an association. See what I'm saying? So that's a choice. Is the pure function the most common case, or is the most common case something like a named strategy?
I get it.
So why don't you think about that? And I think depending on the answer to that question, I mean, I suppose I could imagine that we could have a sort of slightly hacky thing, and maybe we've done this in some tabular stuff, where if the thing is a pure function, right, then where basically an association is a special thing, where we've got two special things. We've either got a string that's special, or we've got an association that's special, or we've got a pure function that is applied generically. See what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah, but the most general case will be the association in terms of the computationally.
Yes, because, I understand. With a pure function as one of its arguments. Okay.
Yeah.
We are super late. We have made progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
See you
you
later, guys. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.